Delivery dates of a $1,400 fourth stimulus check specifically focused on Social Security, retirement, disability, SSDI, survivors, SSI, VA, RRB, low income, no income, seniors, older adults, and of course, people with disabilities. I have all the details and what you need to know right here in the video, so let's get right into it. All right, now I'm making this video because I continue to get questions literally every single day down below in the comment section, including, are we going to be getting another stimulus check? If so, when are we going to get it? Who's going to be included? How much is it going to be? And how quickly can they get it to us? Because I need money right away. All of these are very good questions and exactly what I want to focus on here in this video. And I also want to point out, in the event that another check is actually distributed and or approved, just how quickly they can actually get it to us, because I'm going to go back and give you some examples of previously how quickly they can distribute those checks into our bank accounts. So let's get into it and talk about what's going on here, as well as answering all those questions that I continue to see every single day. However, really fast before we do, thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe by hitting the button right down below the video, as it's totally free to do so. And because I am your one and only daily advocate, I'm here for you, right by your side every single day, as I truly want to help you out in any way that I possibly can. Information is changing very rapidly. I'm breaking it down into these videos so you can stay updated to see how it's going to impact you, your money, your benefits, your lifestyle, your bank account, and of course anything showing up right now you can possibly grab and or take advantage of as a low income or fixed income beneficiary. So again, thanks so much for joining me. I truly do appreciate it. Please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and also remember, I'm here for you in any way that I can be. That's my dedication, that's my commitment, and as always, that is my promise to you and everybody right here in the community. All right, thanks again. Let's get into it and talk about all the questions that I see down below and where we currently stand on all of this. All right, so before we get into this, I want to make this very clear, as I always do in any videos like this, which is, as of right now, a fourth stimulus check has not been approved for any dollar amount, okay? Whether it's $1,400, $600, $1,000, $2,000, literally doesn't matter the dollar amount. It has not been approved as of right now. However, there are some different factors that I do want to point out here for you in this video, because things are changing pretty rapidly right now, and we're on our way to a very major economic contraction and or recession here in this United States. And as a result of that, we all know that recessions typically do point toward stimulus checks. In fact, that's what they've all pointed to over the last 22 years. Therefore, why would this time be any different? But more on that here in just a second. All right, so let's quickly run through some of these questions, and I want to hit on these first, and then I want to talk about a few different things that I'm watching very closely right now that, again, I think we should probably watch going forward, because this is all going to be a very interesting scenario that plays out here through the course of 2023. All right, so going to those questions that I mentioned earlier. First off, has a check been approved, or are we going to be getting one? Number one, has one been approved? I just answered that for you. As of right now, no, it has not been approved. However, will we be getting one? Well, more on that here in just a second, because as of right now, I can't really say yes or no, but again, I certainly don't want to say no, because based on the current situation and what is really going on right now, it's kind of setting the stage for setting up the Federal Reserve to print up a lot more money and inject a lot more stimulus into this economy. So let's come back to that one here in just a second. All right, now next, how much would another check be in the event that they actually do approve one? Well, that's a really good question. It really comes down to what I'm going to hit on here in just a couple minutes, which is, well, it depends. How much stimulus does the economy really need? Now, I've talked about this before in other videos, but I want to point this out really, really fast here, which is stimulus checks are basically a way for them to get money into the economy very, very quickly. So they basically give us, the American people, money, and they basically tell us to go out and spend the money, and then we can inject all of that money into the economy very, very fast, okay? So basically, we are the way that they basically use us as a proxy to get money into the economy very quickly, okay? So that's the whole point of stimulus. Now remember, previously, we've been calling them stimulus checks, but what are they really called? They're called economic impact payments. Why would that be? Well, because they're impacting the economy, okay? So that's why they're called that. All right, so again, more on that question here in just a minute. But who would be included? That's another really good question. And again, I see the questions and concerns down below in regards to fixed income beneficiaries asking, will we be included for another check? Well, here's the thing. Of course, I can't speak for Congress because I don't know what their plan is, but in the event another check is actually approved, there'd be no reason that you wouldn't be included, okay? You've been included for the last 3 that we got over the last couple of years here. There'd be no reason that you wouldn't be included for another one in the event that another check is actually approved. So I just want to keep that in mind. There's really no reason that you wouldn't be. Now, again, obviously the stipulations every single time are usually a little bit different. They usually change the eligibility, things like that. But for the most part, usually about 85% of the population gets them. And it's always income based, right? It's always based on your income. And then, of course, there's some thresholds based on whether you're a dependent, an adult dependent, all kinds of different things like that. But again, we won't know those parameters until we actually get into that point. Now, next, how quickly can they get it to us? That's a really good question. Let's quickly take a little step back into history here and talk about the details really fast on the last 3 checks. Now, again, I just want to point this out, and I'm only going to take just a short time here on this one. All right, so let's talk through the details. Check number 1 in early 2020. It was approved, as in the bill was approved and signed into law on March 27th, 2020. The first round of checks started rolling out around April 15th. So it was about 2.5 weeks later is when the first round of checks really started rolling out into bank accounts. That was a pretty slow time considering how much money was really needed by the people at that time. It took a long time, about 2.5 weeks, for those payments to get into the bank accounts of people. So that first rollout was honestly pretty slow. Next, the other one, check number 2, the $600 was approved on December 28th of 2020 as well. Now, those checks started hitting bank accounts 48 hours later. It was very, very fast there, okay? So within just a couple days, they were already hitting bank accounts. However, the vast majority of checks started hitting bank accounts about 1 week later on January 4th, 2021 is when most of those checks started hitting bank accounts. All right, so that's example number 2. So about 1 week in that situation. Now, the next check was on, I think it was March 17th of 2021. That one was signed into law. And again, that was the American Rescue Plan in 2021 and the $1,400 check. Now, those started rolling out let me take that back. It was signed into law on March 11th, and the first round of checks started rolling out on March 17th. So it was like a week later, call it. Actually, it was a little bit less than that. It was 6 days, but let's just call it 1 week. So it was 1 week after it was signed into law, checks started rolling out into bank accounts. However, if you remember back to that time, there was a little bit of a situation going on for fixed income beneficiaries, and most fixed income beneficiaries, because apparently the Social Security Administration did not get the files over to the IRS that they needed in order to distribute those checks. It was in early April. It was April 7th by the time the vast majority of those checks started rolling out for fixed income beneficiaries. So there was a little bit of a hiccup there. There was a little bit of a weird situation that played out that time, but that should not have happened, okay? That was just a little bit of a weird situation that played out, but going forward, I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll happen again in the event another check is approved, but it was just a really weird situation. That should not have happened in the first place. But my point is, for check number 1, it took about 2.5 weeks. Check number 2 took about 7 days. Check number 3 took about 7 days. And then again, the exception to the rule, which was the little minor issue there that played out. And it took about 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks in the event for fixed income beneficiaries. However, when it comes down to it, how quickly could they get checks out to us in the event that another one is actually approved? Well, according to the statistics and according to the reports here and according to history, we can all clearly see it's about 7 days from the time that the bill is passed through Congress and by the time it is signed into law by the president. Now remember, from the time that it's passed through Congress, that's not really the part that's important. It's when it's signed into law. It can be passed by Congress anytime, and then it could just sit there in its just current form until it's actually signed into law by the president. Until it actually gets the signature from the president, it's doing nothing. It's just going to sit there, okay? Until it's signed by the president, then it takes on a life of its own, and then it becomes its own little bill, and it starts running around, and it's all happy as a little rolled up piece of paper, like what we've seen in the cartoons, right? Well, well, not really, but that's kind of how we can use the analogy, right? So anyway, when it comes down to it, it's about a 7-day turnaround from the time that something would be signed into law by the president until it would actually be into bank accounts. So for those of you that have been asking, that is about how quickly it would be, and the delivery time frame of checks would be about 7 days in the event something would be approved. All right, so let's talk about some other details here and things that I'm watching closely and what I want to continue watching through the year of 2023. There's been some interesting things so far this year, and again, We have a lot of time here through the rest of this year as far as what else could be playing out here. But again, things that I want to watch closely. All right, so I'm going to buzz through these relatively quickly because I don't want to make this video too long. I want to make it relatively short here, so I want to buzz through this, but let's hit these one at a time here. Number one, I'm going to continue watching the Federal Reserve very, very closely when it comes down to their interest rate policy to see, are they continuously raising interest rates? Are they going to pause? Are they going to pivot? What are they going to do? And what is the language coming out of the Federal Reserve, as well as the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell? Very important point right there. Remember, the Federal Reserve is the one who prints up all the money, and they're the one who ultimately has the magic wand to ultimately come forward and start injecting billions of dollars into the economy. So we have to watch them very closely. Next, I want to watch jobs. The job market is very, very important, okay? So a couple different things that have been coming out here recently. Number one is the unemployment rate. We got to watch that one very closely because we know the unemployment rate is directly tied to the economy, the health of the economy, the economic contraction, recession, and or is also tied to all the other details that we need to continue watching going forward, as in, we've seen this out of lawmakers previously, as in the event that the unemployment rate gets above a certain level, they know that they want checks to go out. So I'm going to continue watching this one very closely. Not only job creation, but I want to know the initial jobless claims, the number that's released every Thursday morning, which is, are more people filing for unemployment benefits, as in initial jobless claims, or less people filing? And then, of course, I also want to watch the non-farm payroll number, which is released once every month, the first Friday of the month, which is when it's released, and we get the official unemployment reading to see what's going on. Are jobs being lost? Are jobs being created? Is the unemployment rate ticking higher in this country? And we know as of right now, the unemployment rate is very low. That's not necessarily a good thing. I'm just being real with you for a second. Even though it looks good on paper, it's not really a good thing. It simply shows complacency, and it shows that there's nowhere to go other than up. Okay, so it's historically very, very low. And again, we'll have to see, are these numbers even accurate? Well, again, who knows about that? But these are what we need to watch here closely going forward. Next, I want to continue watching the inflation report as well, okay? This is the CPI data release. Now, this is the one that we get usually around the middle of the month. Usually it's released anywhere between about the 11th and about the 14th or 15th of each month in regards to the inflation for the previous month. Now, again, this is something we got to watch closely because we know that the Federal Reserve wants to bring inflation down to about 2 to 2.5%. Okay, well, inflation is still sitting well above that level, so we'll need to continue to see, is it coming down? Is it plateauing? What's going on with inflation? As this is a very important report, and we know that this is ultimately going to give the Federal Reserve either additional objectives as far as raising interest rates or possibly pivoting and or pausing. It's going to give us all those details. So that's another factor that I want to continue watching closely, inflation, okay? So that's another one we'll need to continue watching. Next, I want to watch the stock market. Now, again, I know a lot of you here in the community might not watch the stock market all that closely, but this is one that I want to watch closely because very closely as well, because generally the stock market leads the economy. Well, if we have the stock market as a potential leading indicator of the economy, then do we want to watch it? Yeah, I do. I want to watch the stock market to see, is it going up? Is it going down? Is it bouncing around? What's it doing? Okay, I want to watch this one because when it comes down to the economy, and if it's going to contract hard, if it's going to go into a recession, the stock market already prices that in, and it usually leads. And then we see the stock market falling off a cliff, and then we think, oh, okay, well, this isn't too hard to figure out what's going on with the economy, right? So we got to watch that one very closely as well. Now, again, I want to point this out. You don't need to watch all these different factors. I'm watching all these very closely. And of course, I will report back with any new findings. And of course, all the other reports that are coming out as well. So I'm going to continue watching all of this. Next, I want to continue watching the new Congress as well, right? We know that at the beginning of the new year, as in this year, 2023, we got the new Congress that came in. Well, as a result of the new Congress, we want to continue watching them. What are they doing? What are they talking about? What are they working on? What are the bills, packages, proposals, amendments that they are introducing? And what are they passing or what are they not passing? But most importantly, what are they talking about and what are they watching, right? Well, we don't really know what they're watching necessarily, but we can also listen in and see what they're talking about. This is very important because it gives us a glimpse into what they're doing. And again, generally lawmakers have kind of an idea of what's going on with the economy, even though they act like they don't have a clue what's going on. They know, even though they're not doing anything about it, trust me, they know what's kind of going on, right? So they have an idea of what's going on here. And again, when we see action out of them, as in them working up a package or something like that, are they doing that for fun? Well, Probably not. They're doing it because they're probably trying to prepare for the reckoning that may be coming, right? So anyway, when it comes down to it, for all of this talk that we've been hearing about as far as an economic contraction, a recession, all this talk like this in 2023, when it comes down to another check, if you are somebody that wants another stimulus check, you probably want to be crossing your fingers for an economic contraction, okay? Because here's the thing, as I've talked about before, an economic contraction or a recession is the same thing as a reset. It's like pushing the reset button on some electronics or something like that, right? It's the same thing, right? So a recession is basically just a big reset for the economy. So that's why it's so important and why we want to continue watching this, because we know every single time when a recession comes in, they push the reset button, they print up a bunch of money, and they send it out, and then basically we're off to the races again. Well, it takes a little bit of time, but it's basically what happens. Anyway, when it comes down to it, I hope this gives you a better perspective on what's really going on and answering those questions that I continue to see down below in the comment section, letting you know what I'm watching closely going forward. And again, there's a lot of other things that I'm watching as well, but I would say these are the most important ones that I continue watching. And of course, as I do get more details on anything going on right now in regards to money, benefits, checks, stimulus, anything else like that, of course, I'll bring it to your attention right away. Even raises to benefits, bills, packages, proposals, anything like that to raise benefits, of course, I'll continue to hammer that out as well. So I'm watching a lot of different things here. And of course, as I do get any details on any of it, I will continue to break it down into these short videos. Anyway, hope this kind of gives you a better perspective on what's going on and what I'm watching closely. And again, just answering the questions as far as how quickly could something be distributed in the event that something gets approved? Well, if that actually happens, then again, from the time the president signs something like that, then I would say about 7 days is the turnaround based on history and based on what we've seen before out of all these lawmakers, right? So, and out of Congress, out of the IRS, the Treasury, everybody that has their, kind of their fingers in the pie here, that's what it comes down to. Anyway, if there's anything else I can do for you as far as answering questions, things like that, please leave your comments, your questions, your feedback down below. I just want to do what I can to help you out. And again, like I said before, as of right now, a check has not been approved yet. I tried to make that very clear throughout this video. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I truly do appreciate it. Please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, as I truly want to help you out as much as I can. Enjoy the other videos here on the channel. Go back and check out some of the other thousands of videos here on the channel. And also share this one or any others here on the channel with your friends, family, and social media. Until next time, enjoy, and I hope this one helps you out. Have a nice day, and I'll catch you again later.